Hello, thank you for joining me today. My name is Dennis and welcome to my art channel. Today we're back in the home studio doing a little watercolor painting. I've got a rough watercolor paper pad and my usual palette of colors. Got a big wash brush and just laying down some colors, just trying to fill out the page with a base. Every painting at least starts as an abstract. I feel like I will continue into the abstract. I'm just trying to capture how I'm feeling here today more than any particular scene or theme or place, but I hope that the colors, the lines, the combination of vibes give you a sort of sense of how I've been. And maybe a little explanation will help as well. I'm starting out with a bit of that warm back and filling in on the round brush now with blues, just trying to throw colors around and see where they land, see what feels right. I'm not totally committed to anything just yet. I feel like I'm very flexible at this stage in the painting. I don't have any expectations besides making a painting, you know? So one thing that I was thinking about actually while making this one today was how I'm holding my brush. I've realized that on some of my videos recently, I've been falling back into poor habit and holding my brush like I hold a pen, and that isn't always ideal. I mean, sometimes it's fine. I mean, it gives you a high amount of fine control, but I do feel like when you release that hold and kind of relax the hand and try to use the arm more with an alternate sort of grip. I don't know what it's called. I just sort of like hold the brush with like all three or four fingers and my thumb to try to get full leverage on it, and then just swing my arm around, try to make these larger strokes in areas, and I feel a little more natural with this way of holding the brush. I think that sometimes holding the brush like a pen, it ends up being a bit too much of that scratchy, one stroke at a time, and it's maybe like 1 inch large kind of a size. I feel a lot more expressive with this kind of a hold, so I'm hoping that going forward I'm able to break out of that habit and paint properly a little bit more. I feel like the angle of the table is a big factor, since it's easier to paint with a, I'll just call it the artist hold, when you have the paper vertical rather than on a flat surface. This is on a drafting table, so it is a little bit on an incline, like maybe 20 degrees at most. I have glass on the table, so I can't have it be rolling off, you know. But the point is, it's got a bit of that top down. It feels like sometimes it feels like I'm writing rather than painting, and that's not the goal. That's definitely not the goal. I'm trying to express myself with colors, not with lines and words. Although I am putting words to what I'm doing, I do feel like I want this painting to also be able to speak for itself. I'm making something here that isn't necessarily, you know, one and done sort of a thing. I feel like it's a part of a body of work that I'm creating. Each piece is sort of speaking one to the next, and I'm slowly progressing both as a watercolor painter and just as an artist. I feel like I'm getting a little better at controlling all these different colors on my palette, and I'm feeling a lot more just flexible with how I'm applying. I'm a little more patient as well, because with the watercolor you really can't rush things. It takes some time for the paper to absorb the water, and if everything comes on too soon, too fast, then if it's still wet, you just get a mix, versus if you're patient, if you wait, you get more of a glaze of the paint over the previous layer. You get more of a layering effect rather than a mixing effect. And I feel like the more time I spend on a painting like this, the better of a result I'm getting towards, because of that layering, that additional kind of I don't want to say like I guess like transparency on the fresher colors, since they're a bit thinner on a thicker layer of paint as it keeps building up. I'm able to create some interesting, hopefully interesting. Let me know in the comments if you find this stuff interesting. That is the goal here: some interesting gradations, some combinations of colors that might be unexpected. I feel like when it comes to an abstract painting like this, I'm pulling colors that in my mind might come out of like a, I think I've said this before, like a post-human kind of world where things are radioactive and colors are way more extreme than they would be in a normal day. But at the same time, I feel like you see a lot of these colors at sunset, you know? That's when you get to see a lot of the purples, these reds. If you're in a wooded area, you'll still see these oranges, these greens. You will see all these colors at sunset, you know? Not all times of the day. I feel like golden hour, everything's too yellow. You know, midday, everything's just washed out. But right around sunset, I feel like there's just so many colors around, and it really is a blessing to be able to experience them. I hope that this painting is able to convey just some of that sort of feeling of being almost overwhelmed by nature. Let me know what you think. Right now I'm actually going in with a new brush that I picked up. This was one that I got after last week's painting. I was thinking that I do need something simple that's sort of like a medium point in between my smallest brush and my rigger brush, because as fine of a line as that gives me, it is a bit risky, I feel like, to use, because it's so it's such a large brush, versus this one is a size 6 round. Same brushes that I've been using for the past year, silver brush, black velvet brushes, and I'm finding this to be just, I mean, by number it's half the size of my favorite brush that I'm using, the 12 round, but it's such a finer line that I'm able to create. And I feel like the vining effect, the kind of, I guess like tree, twig, fractal design thing that I'm making here is much easier with this kind of a brush. I feel like the stroke is very consistent. I can press in a little bit, press out a little bit, push and pull, and get some nice variation. Reminds me of a fountain pen, honestly, and how varied but still relatively thin the strokes are. I feel like well, let me know what you think. I'm curious how you feel about this painting. I'm doing a little more than my last abstract, especially with this new brush, and I feel like I don't know, I feel like it's working, but you know, I feel like it's also not up to me. I'm sharing this with the world, so maybe the world will give me its opinion. By the world, you are my world, so please let me know. Yeah, going in with mainly greens, like blues, yellows, mixing them into greens and overlaying on top of everything else. I feel like in general this combo of colors does stand out on top of everything else that I've got. Mainly yellows, reds, and the kind of backwash area. Backwash. The background. The wash. The initial wash that is now the background. Mainly warm colors. So this kind of cool helps to pop out, stand out, and I feel like you can tell what's going on here pretty easily. A whole lot of little lines, and as I'm going through, I am checking every square inch of this paper, making sure there's no dots poking out. I feel like as I progress and the paper absorbs more of the water, it does start to leave a few spots because of the roughness of this paper. It does have a lot of gaps in the paper pulp, and it does need sometimes some filler. And I'm always looking, especially in this last couple of minutes, to make sure I don't have any that are really standing out, because I don't mind seeing a little bit of blank canvas, but ideally I want it to be intentional rather than an accidental place that I forgot to make a mark. Yeah, here's some close-ups. Sorry if I'm moving around a little bit, just trying to keep it in focus. And you can see all the little like gradations areas, the layerings. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you. Let me know in the comments what you think about this painting, how it made you feel, what you think it might be, if it represents something. And yeah, I hope you have a lovely weekend. Hope to see you here again next week. Take care. Peace.